I don't know what it was, but you're like, it's so far-fetched because they could have taken it from Bill Gates. I think it was the average person who graduates.
It was a correlation, another correlation between the number of years of schooling correlated with your median income.
Yeah. And
median
like
income correlated.
How many?
It was almost a one-to-one correlation. It was beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful slide. Look, like more school, more you make. But the logical, the illogical, kind of absurd conclusion is just stay in school forever. You'll make money more paying in your fists, right?
Right. What if a millionaire answered that survey? Versus,
what if? What if?
And then if he did, and the average person, or I said $20,000, and then the $1 million. And then all of a sudden, oh, the average person makes $60,000, $70,000.
And what Katie has just, thank you for the segue, by the way. You just segued us beautifully.
I was like, oh,
no, just good, no, good. I want to turn this off. I want to turn this off for a second. I want to turn it off for a second because I want to go back to what all you guys said. When I said you hear the word average, and I put it in quotes, I said, what do you think of when you hear the word average? And some of you said middle, which ties into Tom's half above, half below, which are very nice. Middle. Frequent. Common, probable, typical. That computation of average addresses none of those necessarily. It addresses not one of those. First of all, number one, 4.1 does not exist in our data list anywhere. 4 does, I think. Is there a laser on this thing? I don't know what's in it. There's 4. There's 5. 4.1's like over here. So it's not the middle, right? It's not like the middle, the exact middle. It's not even frequent because it doesn't occur at all. So what I love about your guys' words is you guys, even though you've heard the word average, and even though you know how to calculate one, the words you intuitively went to aren't that calculation. No, that makes me so happy. Because that calculation is so frequently misused in the world. Now, I'm going to number one. Candace, Phil, you have a point back there, please.
It just kind of feel like typical kind of thing.
Typical. So, when I hear typical, probable, common, or frequent, they all kind of mean the same thing to me. Let's put the data back up on the screen real quick.
So it feels like typical.
Let's talk about typical.
A typical person might carry 4 keys.
Well, let's use you guys as a representative sample, which we know we're not. But let's pretend you are for the sake of you're all here, it's convenient, let's just use it. What would you call typical?
3.
Go ahead. 3? Why'd you pick 3? A lot of you had 3. 8 of you had 3 keys. Hell, that's like, what is that? That's like 25% of the class was carrying 3 keys. 4? Only 6. Well, that's still a lot, right? But 3, definitely more of you had 3 than anybody else. So 4 of the 5 words you volunteered to me dealt with that idea. Do you know what that idea is called statistically? You may have learned it at some point. It starts with an M as well. It's the mode. It's the mode. You probably learned it at some point, I'm guessing, right? The mode is another measure of center, and I find it fascinating, and it happens every term. When I ask you guys to give me your own words to try to describe this, almost all of you verbalize the mode very well. Very, very cool. The mode. We'll call that number 2. The mode. It's the least mathematical of the measures. It's just the one that shows up the most. It rhymes with mode. One of my students used to call it the mostest. It's the mostest one. I love that. Mostest. And it is. When you look at the data, there were more 3s than any other individual data point. If you allow yourself to include 4s, you've got roughly half the data set, or a third of the data set. But let's just go with strictly the one that shows up the most frequently. So the mode is the most frequent data value. I'm going to swing over to, we're going to keep some summary stats over here on the sideboard if it's okay with you guys. Keep a running total over here for the keys. So for our mean, we got a mean of 4.1 keys per person. We got a mode. And as far as I know, there's no fancy symbol for mode. I don't think there is any. Does anybody know of one? I don't think there is one. I haven't seen one. Mode. 3 keys. 3 keys. That's the modal number of keys. You'll very often hear the adjective modal for the modal person, the modal value, the modal weight. That just means the one you see the most. Just think most mode works pretty well.
Yep.
You don't see it very often compared to the other measures. And there's a couple good reasons for that. Well, some of which we'll learn in this class, some of which we'll learn in 244 should you take that journey with me. or with Donna, or with anybody else with Matt over at OSU. He's awesome. Now, we've addressed the formula that you guys used to use.